Hey everyone, it's Johnny Glock here doing another video. Johnny from Johnny Custom Glocks. What I'm doing today is I received a gun from an author named Tom Marshall. And Tom is a tactical academic and scribe for RECOIL magazine, Breach, Bang, and Clear, a bunch of other industry publications. And got wind of me somehow, and we did some corresponding, and he decided to send me his firearm to put a trigger group into, a custom trigger group. That's usually the best way if you send me the gun. If you want the best of my work, you send me your gun. Easiest way to do it. So I wanted to kind of from start to finish talk about the process and how when I do bring a gun in, some of the things I look for, some of the things I do, as opposed to what the shooter is looking for out of his trigger. It's interesting, a lot of people don't even know what is possible as far as Glock triggers are concerned. So, I've had people, just want to correspond, like typing and stuff like that, and it works a lot of the time. But sometimes a conversation's a little bit better because you can be more specific. You don't have to, type so many big words and things of that nature. You can just sort of have a talk back and forth. And if you have that kind of specificity with what you're looking for. Yeah. So basically, when I take a gun in, a lot of people say, well, feel the trigger and then use that as a gauge. But these are the parameters that I want it to sort of fit into, and I have it written down. Like usually when you talk to me, I write things down. So Tom is looking for a break weight of 4 pounds. He wants minimal pre-travel, about 1/8 of an inch, a sharp, well-defined wall, and a crisp break. Now that it has tactician written all over it, tactical written all over it. No over travel, or as little over travel as possible, and a hard audible reset. That's another thing that's kind of dead giveaway for your combat style trigger. And I know that Tom is actually a I wouldn't say veteran, I guess he's enlisted. So basically, and he just got back from deployment. So basically, what we're gonna, and it's, so that's just shooting style. He shoots from that perspective of more of like a tactician, I would assume. You know what they say about assumptions, though, from his requests here. So without further ado, I said that in the last video, we're going to drop the camera down so we can take a look at this gun and see what's going on with it before I even start doing my process. So I'm going to drop the camera. Okie doke. Shift this a little this way. All right, so the first thing, this is a I thought it was a well thought out build here as a Glock guy. This is TMT Tactical. They're out of North Carolina. There's a lot of things on this gun I haven't seen. I don't really keep up on the whole stippling and grip art thing, not even art but work, but I really like the definition of this right here, how it sort of angles up into that. That gives it a nice nuance, in this scallop, this cut here, and that's a nice recess. And then this is something I've never seen either, which like other people may be doing it, I don't know, but I think it's super duper cool. They have it's almost like the grip tape. I forget the actual name of it. I think it's called silicone carbide or something like that, that's inside this little cutout that they put into the slide when they did some slide work. Of course they beveled that because it's rounded here and here as well. It's just something to mention. Whenever I see interesting work, I have to mention it. This looks pretty cool with the battle worn and everything, and the way they did the there's so much out right now on Instagram. It's like unreal. All you do is spend 5 minutes on there and you're like, oh my god, there's like nothing you can't do with these frames nowadays. But I just thought I'd mention it because I think it's a pretty cool looking firearm. So first thing he was talked about was, and let's show you, this is a clear gun, and there's no magazine in it, so let's do a pull test on it to see where it is. Okay, so it is pulling about 4 pounds. You can see the dot right there, about 4 pounds. Pull it again just to make sure there's some consistency here. And yeah, just a little bit under 4 pounds again. And what the heck? Do it one last time. And that one was still about 3.5 pounds right there. And that could just be me, you know. I think it's consistently pretty much could call it a 4 pound trigger. The first thing I notice when I look at it is there is some type of pre-travel reduction going on here, just by where the trigger is sitting inside the guard. Also, I can see that the safety tab has been cut in the back, which is this part right here. That's been cut down. Typically it has a, let me grab a stock one for you real quick. So typically it has that angle right there that you're seeing, that right angle. On this group, when we pop it out, you'll see it looks more like this, where that angle is actually cut away. That's something you kind of have to do if you're going to reduce pre-travel, because this amount of tab will not allow you to back the system up. So that's the first thing that I look at. And on the pull, I can feel that, and I mean, I can tell this is probably a little bit of a dirty gun, but on the pull itself, I can see there's some pre-travel. You're right against a very defined wall, but still at the same time, you can see there's the pre-travel's kind of built in a little bit into it, but it is a quicker wall break. And then what I really notice is all that over travel. There's a ton of over travel in this gun, and then you can see how long the reset is. So it's almost resetting as you have to go completely back out again in order to get this gun to reset. So break all the way back to the frame, and then resetting it, and that is a pretty long reset. And I think and the other thing about the reset, I'm pretty sure there's a 6 pound spring in here, because the push out of it feels good right there, but once I get to about here, it starts to get kind of neutral and weak, which is a telltale of the 6 pound, the dreaded 6 pound trigger return spring. So let's open it up and see what we have. The pull itself feels a little gritty, but like I said, this is probably a little bit dirty. I don't really tell people to clean their guns, because I want them to feel like they're going to feel like an actual a situation where, you know, it's not like you clean your gun a lot, so it'd be better to have it feeling the way it felt, how you usually keep it. I don't know many guys that clean their Glocks after going to the range every time. So first off here, I can see this is definitely a drop-in kit of some kind, because there is that's a different cut than OEM right there. They rounded that off. And if I look down into, let me see if I can tighten this up like this. You're not going to be able to see it. No, it's too dark in there. I'll let you see it when I pull it out. But there is a roll pin pushed through from right to left through the trigger shoe, which means someone had to drill a hole in here and push. This is a fulcrum trigger, that's why those holes are like that. It's a whole different concept than that. Someone's punching a hole through right about there, and that's limiting pre-travel with a with a roll punch instead of a set screw. The theory is, like, if you have a moving parts like a set screw, it could back out. I get it. But if it's seized properly, that rarely happens. Where you see it happening a lot is like over travel stops in the rear. You know, Lone Wolf makes one with that goes back and forth. I use them too, but I really taper tap them well and use a certain type of adhesive. I know you've heard me talk about this before. It's Loctite. It's for stainless to polymer applications. So basically, that's what's going on here. There is no pre-travel reduction to this trigger group whatsoever. So that's why you're getting the full bore of over travel, and that's why you're getting the full return of reset. Hang on, I gotta put my glasses on. So, and this is a minus connector, which means you could have a really way better reset than that. I mean, Glock minus connectors have a longer reset. I mean, this is just knowledge you have when you work with these. Another thing that I see going on here is, and this is problematic, the horizontal drop safety is really on the edge. I mean, really on the edge. So if you basically, and I have to focus this in for this. So your drop safety's horizontal right here. So this is the trigger sitting in normal. If I push this down like that, see how the cruciform is just able to drop down on its own? I'll pry it back up, but a good horizontal drop on this, inertia will take this and boom, drop it, and then all of a sudden what's going to happen is your striker's going to be here and go and release. So this part right here is going to detach from the sear, since I have one of these sitting around. That's how they go together. Now, if the gun drops, this is going to drop like that, and then this is just going to go bang and fire the gun. So I'm not going to say. I mean, obviously, if this was my gun, I'd drop it. But you know, with the nice frame here, I really, I don't really want to drop Tom's gun. So, but basically, this is a very iffy thing. You know, once you get to this point, and you can see it's dropping down like that, that's more than enough to, if you don't have full engagement, you're going to actually have a negligent discharge at this point from, you know, what I'm seeing. So there's the drop rate, and that's more than enough to drop this. So if I would continue on with the movement of this, you know, that's the full movement, but you know, right there is enough to drop it, usually right there. And with the way this sits, when I push this down, as you can see, it's there. There's more than enough not there to drop that. So these are things you have to check, and you know, really, you are responsible for your firearm. But you know, when you buy a kit, you would really think the person selling the kit would take all these considerations into account, and that doesn't always happen. You know, because it's interesting what the public wants and what someone wants might not be safe. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm sure I can't tell you the stuff I've seen. It's just been, I mean, completely shelves sheared off of and ground off of the striker. So basically, you have no breech face safety at any time. If you would drop it like this, it would just bang. It would go off because, not that it would go off every time, but you know, you don't have any. That's the thing with the gun, that striker is, this was the big thing in the beginning, like how are you going to keep this firing pin, which is right here, from protruding? So there's the safety. And now listen, so now once that's engaged, you can't go through, and you can see the firing pin coming through here. If someone shears the shelves on this is what you're going to have all the time. It'll be able to come through no matter what. And I've seen that, and that's just, and these are from like literally well-known professional, you know, companies that, you know, I don't need to mention who they are, but still, it's really concerning. So, and this gun's been pretty well shot. It's got a little bit, we call that the Glock smile on there, so you can see. I don't know if it's this gun, but this barrel's been shot quite a bit. And since we have this here, we'll pop this out and take a look. we have a polished spring here, and it's double. Wow, that's pretty tight. Man, that's a pretty stout spring right there too. And since it has a couple wraps here and here, you know, I know it's not Lone Wolf. It's a little too stout to be a ZevTech spring. Looks like a little bit too long. You know, it might actually be a, actually this comes with the kit. I recognize it now, which I will not mention. But I know exactly what kit this is. So it's an OEM striker. As you can see, he has a line, a nice little demarcation line, and I'll tighten this up too so you can see it right here across the striker, right there at the bottom. It just digs in a little bit. It's right there. That's going to affect break. And at the same time, like, you can see how that it's just hanging on there at the very bottom. That's telling me that the gun is not entirely engaged either. These parts are, dang it, these parts here, when they connect, are sitting. Well, I can put it in the gun this way, but they're not sitting in a way. They're sitting in a way that makes the drop safe, the fact that the drop safety is questionable, even more dangerous. Let's put it that way, and I'll put this back together and show you what I mean. This is a stock safety plunger. Knock that out real quick. Since the gun is dirty, it's holding in there a little bit. We'll clean that up. And this does not feel like a reduced spring. No, that's definitely not a reduced spring. That's probably just a polished stock weight spring right there with a. This probably was polished at one time as well. It's lost its polish, but since it has a bevel on it, then you pretty much know just by the way you're looking at it that it's an OEM that's just been highly polished. And let's see if we can see anything. What you're really looking for on these is marring on this shelf right here. So if you spin this, it looks decently clean. If I roll my fingers on it like this while I'm spinning it, and I can feel any metal coming off my fingers, then I know there's an issue in between this piece right here when the trigger safety is engaged right there on these shelves. Right there, one or the other. Usually you will see a demarcation or a marring right where, there's a slight one right there. If you can see the high, oh, it's holding hard, right, it's right there. And it's just worn a little bit. This eventually was going to start to cause a problem. We're getting to it right at the right time. So you can see there that's definitely worn. And what that means is the more it wears, the further it can go through, and like I said, the further it can go through past that breech face safety and cause problems. But what it does first is it just keeps smacking against this shelf, and it actually mars it and leaves marks. And so what happens is when these two pieces work in unison, it pushes through, but then it holds. So you have what's called firing pin push through, which means get this through the whole way. Come on. Which means the firing pin will push through like that. If you can see the firing pin there, I'll back it out. Totally gone now. But this is hard to do without the safety, without the. Okay, so you can see now it's get the right angle right. Yeah, push through. See it right there. So what happens usually is the next round goes to feed after it's ejected, and the casing stops dead on that firing pin, and you have what's type of, it's like a type 3 malfunction. Not a stovepipe, it just won't be able to feed into the barrel, and that's an issue. And actually, like I said, the gun needs cleaned a little bit because we're cutting, even smacking it. There we go. We finally got this out. But there tends to be a lot of, you know, carbon buildup in these. Probably a lot of carbon buildup. Yeah, you can see it. And like, once again, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, Glocks are dry guns. They can run pretty well like this. I mean, I'm a big advocate of keeping your gun cleaner than dirtier. This is fine right here. But nonetheless, like I said, I'd like people to send it to me the way they're using it. So let's take out the trigger group now at this point. And I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as the roll pin is concerned. Make that wide, sorry. Yeah, so as you can see, it's not a roll pin, it's actually a, what we would call the moving part, which is, because it has the ability to move. And this is something that Tom said he didn't want any moving parts right here, coming right through there. So there is the, I'll see if this what it is. Okay, yeah, this is what would be like a 256 hex screw going into here. So if I would twist this out, let's see how easily it twists. And so see, that twists out without any problem whatsoever. So what people worry about is this thing backing out right here, and you can see all this thing has to do is back out, and then it's going to push against the side of the frame, and you're going to have major issues with this thing. It's going to push in between the frame, or it's going to get stuck. It's going to get stuck under one of these shelves. But this right here is exactly, in the conversations or correspondence I should say I had with Tom, is something he did not want. Now, at the time, he did not know that he had a moving part in his, you know, so this would be called, this is not set screw adjustable, because you can't, well, I guess you could. If you take the set screw out, it's going to change the adjustment, but you can't incrementally change the adjustment with the way this is designed. It's called a fixed design. You know, and as you can see, there's definitely, you know, you saw me twisting it, there's a hole right there for it. Has the potential of backing out, and, you know, just from turning it, there is no anti-seize on it, and it is not, it's got some, like I said, it's got a little bit of grab, but it's definitely something that over time could cause you problems, and that was one of Tom's major concerns. There's nothing here to regulate, what was I going to say, no set screw here to regulate over travel, which you see sometimes in groups. Like I said, this has been modified right here. You can just tell from the, you know, let me grab an original bar. That's really kind of what they look like right there. So you can see the two are quite different. Even though this is a Gen 4 bar, it doesn't matter, that angle still